I did a little bit of research as well on this shifting identities from student veterans, right? Former military who left the military to become civilians, to become students. And one of the key takeaways was that they found that they felt very lost without having that mentor. And I think that's a takeaway we can apply to most places in our lives.
Just to clarify what you're saying, transitions from the identity of being a active military individual,
Correct.
transitioning to then being a civilian. Transitions are the rockiest times. Transitioned from job to job, transitioning from non-parent to parent. Those transition points take people off track. And by the way, they are fully predictable. Transition points, you guys, are fully predictable. You know that there are going to be moments in life that you change, and these individuals will experience it as stressful. It is certainly unfamiliar. I think unfamiliarity breeds stress. I love the recommendation to link up with a mentor. I have a mentor. I mentor a handful of people. The other thing, and I'd love to hear your take from your research, is that the community of other individuals going through similar things, or again, someone that has done it, community matters.
Absolutely. You aren't alone, right? Transitions can feel very scary and very isolating. And they're new for you, even though they're predictable, like you said, right? We all go through them. And what's great is there are people who have done this and done it successfully. And so I think finding a community, because you need also that support, right? There are going to be days where you are feeling awesome, and there are going to be days where you feel really badly. And so you just want to find someone who can lift you up and elevate you. And I think that's a really important thing, is to surround yourself with people who really elevate you to help you craft that elite identity.
That's wonderful advice, because again, none of us succeed alone.
Correct.
We all have people in our lives that hold us to a higher standard. When you think about elite identity, again, we can talk about health and wellness in its own domain, and then we can talk about it separately. But the reality is, this idea of living a very globally successful life is truly the point that you are making about having an elite identity. I have a note here that you had said separation of health and self. Do you want to explain to us what that is?
Well, I think it's really important to come up with strategies to prioritize your health, right? And sometimes that can mean taking away things, to not sacrifice, but to make decisions that I'm not going to do certain things today because I want to prioritize my health, and I want to and prioritize my mental health. And so I think that was something that was very important for me to consider, is that I need to prioritize my health, because without having a healthy identity, all of your other identities are going to be impacted, as well as your concentric circles of family, professional life, and familial life, right? If you're not healthy, the people around you aren't going to be healthy, and you're not going to make healthy decisions. So I just think it's really important to prioritize and separate that what you're doing every day sometimes needs to be not sacrificed, but shifted so that you can focus on what really sets a foundation.
What is it? What do you mean by concentric circles?
So I view the different elements of our lives as concentric circles. We have our professional circle, we have our family circle, and we have our personal circle. And they're all interrelated, because how you do in one and the identity you form in one will absolutely impact the identity you forms in the other, and how successful you can be in these other identities.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. I mean, motherhood is an amazing example, right? My family life, if I am very busy and I can't disentangle my motherhood identity, then I won't go to that networking event. And that's going to impact my professional identity.
The other, again, we talked about these three types of identity. We've covered personal identity. Tell me about relational identity, and what role does that play?
I think that is a really important role. And again, this relational identity is one where you identify yourself in relation to other people. So as a mother, right? You are defining yourself in relation to your children. And so I think it's very important that we recognize that other people around us impact how we view ourselves and how we act on a day-to-day basis.
Do you think it's meaningful to change the language? Let me give you an example. Earlier in our conversation, I said, I'm a very social person. I'm identifying myself as a very social person. Do you think having words and frameworks like that can hinder the way in which I navigate, the way in which I think about things, or as long as it's something positive, it's irrelevant?
I think having a clearly fleshed out identity is important. So we want to use positive language, but negative, there are elements of our identity that can be negative too, right? You can feel down or you can feel depressed. You can have those parts of your identity and they create you as a whole. No person is wholly a positive person, right? We have dark corners.
I don't know. Matt's pretty good over there.
So I think, having a realistic narrative is what's most important.